How do I, as an individual, whether I'm single or married or a student or recently divorced or a dating or whatever I am, how do I honor God with my body? What can I do with my hands, my feet, my sexuality, my speech? How do I glorify God with my body? To glorify God with your body just means to treat God as if he's weighty, significant, important. How do I display with my body that Jesus means everything to me, that he is my supreme joy, my ultimate treasure? That's what it means to glorify God with your body. The Corinthians were leveraging sex for their own self-gratification. Paul's saying, here's an idea. Why not leverage your sexuality in such a way that you display the glory of God with your sex? Now, there's a lot of ways you can do that. Here's what I would encourage you to do, especially if you're not a Christian. I want to encourage you to isolate where it is that you disagree with the Lord as it relates to sexuality. Figure out where is it, and then just humor me. Try it for, 6 months. Try to do sex God's way for 6 months and see what happens with your sex life. See if it doesn't get better. If you're not a Christian and you've got a porn habit, just try kicking the porn habit, investing fully into your spouse. Give yourself completely to her, emotionally, spiritually, every other way, and see if your romance doesn't improve. See if your intimacy doesn't rise. If you're a Christian, you certainly need to do this. There's a popular myth going around. I heard it growing up. I know it goes around today. The myth is, when it comes to sex, practice makes perfect. Anyone ever heard that one? Or, well, you wouldn't want to buy a car without test driving it. I wouldn't buy a new pair of shoes without trying them on first. And the idea is that, someday I'm going to get married and I don't want to, be bad at sex when I get married, and so I need to get a little practice. But here's the thing. When you practice outside of the design, you actually weaken your sexual capacity. You don't strengthen it. And I promise you, on your marriage night, when you get with your spouse, here's what she doesn't want to hear. You better get ready, baby. I've had a lot of practice. That is, first, if you say that, you are, well, just consider it over for that night. That ain't going to happen. You know what that does? That creates jealousy. That gives her or him something to compare to. Romance does not thrive on sexual competencies. Man, you need to hear this. Romance thrives on exclusivity. On, I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done with my sexuality, but I went to this church and there was this preacher. He usually talked too fast, but he said something pretty cool about sex. And ever since that day, I have been waiting for you. I have eyes only for you. I am all about me and you learning this together. And I promise you, sex is not that complicated. You will figure it out on your wedding night. And practice does make perfect in marriage. But you don't need to go to your wedding night and say, I'm pretty well rehearsed. It's a myth. It's a myth that so many people believe, and they give themselves away. They say, I lost my virginity. You don't lose your virginity. You give it away. Sometimes people steal it, but in most cases, you give it away. And what if you didn't? What if starting today, you reestablished, I will have eyes only for my wife, because I know saying no now, it may feel like a sacrifice, but when you say no to something now for something better in the future, it's not called a sacrifice. It's called an investment. You're investing in your sexual future. So determine where it is that you disagree with God. Determine the myths that you believe, and then decide, I'm going to set some guardrails. I'm going to set some boundary lines with my sexuality that are going to prevent me from doing something stupid and are going to enable me to tell my future spouse what it is that I want to tell her, that I have eyes only for her, I have eyes only for him.